Hiya, my name's Charlie and welcome to my channel. Welcome to my weekly reads. How are you guys? Have you had a good week? Let me know in the comments below. Obviously, one of the most exciting things that happened this week is the Booker. So if you want to hear my first impressions, rankings of the Booker, I will put that timestamped in the description. But before I go into all of that and the natty stuff, I'm going to talk to you about the books that I finished since the last time I spoke to you. Which is, I finished listening to Frankenstein on the Audrey app, just literally at the beginning of the week, and I just love this book. I was nearly finished it the last time I spoke to you, and yeah, my thoughts on this is just, yeah, I just love this classic, and the Audrey app definitely enhanced my enjoyment of that. So if you do have access to the Audrey app, it's not a subscription service, it's one that you basically pay per book. In the UK, the Frankenstein I just paid for was £3.99, just to put that in perspective. So yeah, it's very, very reasonably priced. So yeah, I don't know what that would translate in terms of your country, if you can get the Audrey app in your country. I'm not sure about the availability, but yeah, highly recommend that. So wonderful. Just, yeah, I cannot praise it enough. If you want to hear more of my thoughts on it, obviously check out my previous weekly reads, but yeah. So that's that one. Then I read Carla by Colin Walsh. This was I was so excited to read this based upon the premise. And once I actually started reading it at the weekend, I did speed through it. This, in case you don't know, Colin Walsh is Colin Walsh is an Irish author, and this is described as a literary, I cannot say this. This is described as a literary thriller. And so yeah, and this is getting quite a lot of buzz at the moment. My lovely friend Amelia Barlow-Books just adores this book, and Amelia Barlow-Books is is just so freaking lovely. I love her channel, so check her channel out in the description, obviously. But yeah, so I read this, I could not put it down, but as is the way with a lot of thrillers, I mean, I don't know whether this is really, I don't know, would you really describe it as really, it does get kind of more thrillery towards the end. Yeah, I felt a little bit frustrated by the end. Anyway, so yeah, in this book you follow 6 friends, I believe, and one of them, the title character, Carla, has been missing, and then a body is discovered, and basically the book is trying to basically uncover what the mystery of what happened to her, and also a story this story set in this quiet town. So it's I feel like the pacing of this is, even though I did read through it really fast, it's actually, the beginning bit is actually kind of slower, and then obviously at the end you're just but yeah, the thing that right, this is the reason I watch a lot of, even though I don't read a lot of thrillers, I watch a lot of crime on telly, and TV, cozy crime shows on telly, and those kinds of things, that kind of murder mysteries kind of thing. And it always, so I watch a lot. So even though I don't read about it, I do watch a lot of them. So in terms of the twist of how it came together, I could spot that coming, which then did make me annoyed, which is always what tends to happen with these kinds of books. That doesn't take away from the fact that I thought the writing was really good, but it did make me feel by the end that it was a little bit predictable. I think that's just me. I don't think that's the fault of the book. This is just me. So yeah, this book didn't blow me away in terms of the ending. But yeah, I still would recommend this. I think Colin Walsh is a really great author. This is his debut book as well, so I definitely want to check out more books from him in the future. But yeah, I don't know, it's something about it kind of missed the mark a little bit for me. The next book I'm going to talk to you about is Mrs. S by Kay Patrick. This is a book set in a boarding school, and we follow our lead character comes to the school to work as a matron, basically to help out with the girls, to make sure the girls don't get into too much trouble. And yeah, it's basically about her sort of like, she develops this crush on the head teacher, Mrs. S, and it's sort of their like relationship, I guess is fair to say. And it's like I just adored this book. It's just like there's something very timeless about it in the writing. It's written as stream of consciousness, so I listened to the audiobook of this, like I said, so maybe that makes it, I don't normally, stream of consciousness isn't a style I normally would get on with, but via audio it just works really, really well. It just, everything felt very seamless. It felt, every single word in this feels necessary. It doesn't feel overwritten. It just, there's like a sharpness to it, but it's also, it's just very seductive as well, obviously in the nature of what it's talking about, and also in how you feel as you're reading it. It's just a really outstanding book, and I just think, I'm so excited by this author, and I can't wait to read more books by them. If you want to hear like really great reviews of this book, because I feel like I'm not doing this book justice, Jen the librarian and also Eric Carl Anderson posted brilliant reviews of it, so check out their reviews. I'm not doing it justice. It's amazing. Top book. And then in terms of other two books, the last two books that I finished, these were comfort reads, because obviously you guys know I wasn't feeling my best Charlie, so I headed to books that just bring me like this. Anyway, I'll show you them. The Lost Words by Robert Macfarlane and The Lost Spells by Robert Macfarlane. They're both illustrated by Jackie Morris. I'll show you. So these are basically, I think they're just sort of aimed at children. And actually when I bought this specific copy years and years ago, me and my daughter used to just read it over and over again. And the idea of it was that words are being deleted out of the English dictionary, and these nature words have been taken out, and basically they wanted to put those words back in and get like reintroduce those words to young children, and sort of that's the idea behind it. And it's it has acrostic poems in it, and I'll show you this, and also I'll show you some of these gorgeous illustrations. So can you see, so each we've got Bluebell, and then down here you can see the word Bluebell is spelled out, and then you have these beautiful poems, and then also these gorgeous illustrations, which you see, I mean, honestly, I can just stare at this book for just like hours and hours, and I read the poems over and over again. And me and my daughter used to, for over the years, I've just read this non-stop. You get the idea. It's just, and as you can tell we've read this over and over again because the spine is like cracked. I used to keep this in the lounge, and like we used to, like I said, pick it up, just read a poem, put it down, and then me and my daughter would just like go over and over these. And this is just as much of a treat as well. This is the second one. Obviously it's slightly smaller and easier to physically hold, but it's the same sort of idea. Yeah, highly recommend them even if you don't have children. I feel like they're just such comfort reads. So yeah, hugs in a book, which you know I love. I'm all about hugs of books. So yeah, that is that. In terms of what I'm currently reading, I picked up physically When I Sing Mountains Dance by Irene Sola. This is my first book for women in translation, and this is translated from the Catalan by Faye Lethem. And I think I've only literally read one chapter of this, actually two chapters of this, so I'm only very early doors into it, and I think it's set in the mountainside, and it's sort of a family story, which obviously is Charlie Catnip. So yeah, before I tell you about my current audiobook, I'm going to tell you about my future the next book I want to read physically, because then it'll all lead into the Booker stuff, which I think is just easier to do it like that. So the book that I want to read next, after I've finished this little snippety thing, will be The Rachel Incident by Caroline O'Donoghue. This is one that I just have heard so many great things about. On Instagram this week I also saw that Leanne Rose loved this book as well. So not only does Scott love it, but Leanne loves it, and like it's calling to me, and it's by an Irish author. And as you've seen, I read Carla, and the Booker Longlist got announced, and obviously that's all about the Irish authors. So I feel like this is time for me and this book, and I'm so excited to get to it. Yes, tall main character, so many things. I'm just like, yep. So now that segues nicely into my current audiobook listen, which is In Ascension by Martin Mcginnis. So in this book we follow the lead character, who is, I think she's like a marine biologist, and she specialises in algae. The thing I love about this book is that it talks about the micro and also the macro. So in terms of the micro, it talks about literally living microorganisms on the universe, and it also talks about like families, and there's the lead character and her relationship with her sister, and also her relationship with her mother, which you find more about as the book goes on. And those elements are obviously, be no surprise to you, are my favourite elements. They get woven slowly in through the sciencey things, because this book, so obviously the macro, then it also this book talks about like the bigger things in terms of creation of life, and space and the universe and our place within that. And there's so many themes within this book to explore. So I feel like there's a lot to unpack. Sometimes when I've been listening to it, because I have, like I said, been listening to it, there's a lot of sciencey. There are sections that are quite sciencey heavy, which if I was reading it physically, I think it would really put me off, being honest. But I recognise that they do all tie into the actual element of the bigger picture of this story. And I know that, and the writing is really gorgeous. But yeah, sometimes it does, I'm like, oh, I feel like I find myself zoning out a little bit on those sections, being honest. Overall, I think, even though this book is completely outside my comfort zone, I'm really glad that that it's one of the ones I've picked up first to sort of like go into. It's a very strong book, and I can see why so many people love it. So yeah, that's just my thoughts on it. Now I'm going to tell you my first impressions of the Booker Longlist. So obviously this list is quite surprising, and which I love. I love a long list that no one really could see coming. And yeah, I like the first thing I think I heard that Charlie was telling me the long list, and then because this is how I did it, because I was kept on trying to load the website up, and it obviously, you guys would have seen, the actual Booker website didn't load up for ages. So Charlie was telling me them because we were FaceTiming, and yeah, so like the first thing I realised as soon as after all the names had been announced was that Demon wasn't on there. I was like, oh, Demon's not on there. Ooh. Which is shocking, because I was fairly certain that it was, well, I was sure it was going to be on there. Do you know what? It's not a big deal for the book. Barbara Kingsolver has done amazing anyway this year, and it's still her year. So, you know, it's sad it's not listed, but it's not the end of the world. So that's my thoughts on that. And obviously there's, so out of the 13 books that have been listed, there's only one I've actually read, which obviously, if you guys know my channel, you will know, which I'll get to that in a minute. So what I'm going to do is when I first heard the long list, me and Charlie went through, and we, based upon knowing virtually nothing about these books, me and Charlie both ranked them in order of books that we're least excited for to books we're most excited for, and I'm going to share that list with you this week, and hopefully each week you will see, because I'll rank them as I read them, and then you'll hear my thoughts as we go, and it'll be interesting to see how this list here will change to once I've finally read them all, or finally read a lot more of them. So yeah, this list is based upon nothing other than first impressions, so don't judge me too hard for it. Anyway. So in at 13th place, I've got This Other Eden by Paul Harding. Also, I'm going to say on screen, I'm going to put the page count as well underneath in case you guys are interested. And I don't know why, this book just doesn't appeal to me. So that's in number 13th. 12th place, I put The Bee Sting by another Paul. The reason I put this in 12th place is purely just because it's the biggest book on the list. And based upon that, I was just like, I'm just going to push that to the back of, that was the, push that down my list. Obviously, the more I hear people talk about books, the more like this could change, like I said, as for all of these. I've then put Oh God's Time by Sebastian Barry. This is the one book that I'm going to try and mostly listen to the book on audiobooks, just because that's what I'm going to choose to do, because a lot of them I've got on Scribd and also on Zigzag and stuff. So that's my plan with them, and that means I can read, in terms of my physical books, I can read what's on my shelves mostly. I mean, that's the plan. I don't know what will happen, but in terms of that, this is the one book that I've got out the library, so I will actually be reading it physically. But Sebastian Barry is a prolific author, obviously, and so if I do enjoy it, I've got loads of books to get back to. So, but yeah, based upon like purely covers and things like that, I wasn't like massively drawn to it. That's why it's in 11th place. Then in 10th place, I've got A Spell of Good Things. This ranking might shock some of you guys, because you know that me and Charlie put this on our Women's Prize predictions and also our book of prediction. But I've tried to read this. I've had this out on my borrow box like 4 times, no lie, and I just haven't been drawn to pick it up. And then every time I have opened it up, I've read like a couple of pages, and I don't know whether it's the writing, the font or whatever on the thing, and I'm reading it on my phone. I don't know what it is, but I just can't kind of get into it. So that's kind of already why I've put it where it is. Like I said, I might try the audiobook of this, and that might change my mind on it, because I do have, like, I loved Stay With Me is like one of my favourite books by Ayobami Adebayo. It's actually on my favourite shelves, which I can see even in front of me now as I look at you. So yeah, that's that. Number 9 is Study for Obedience by Sarah Bernstein. This has got a dead bird on the cover, and it's kind of something, and it was also, I heard that there's a blurb by Sophie McIntosh, which if you guys remember my feelings on Cursed Bread, you will know that just there's just something about it. I'm just like, no. So I think it's like unlikable characters, etc. I don't really know, but something about it is just like, no. So that's 9th on the list. The next book on my list, at number 8, is The Prophet Song by Paul Lynch. This is marketed as dystopic fiction set in Ireland, like a police state, etc. I think, like an extreme police state. Which dystopic is one of my nopey nope words, one of the words that sort of is a bookish turn off for me. So I'm just like, meh. And also this isn't actually even out yet till the end of the month, so I'm not obviously won't be in a huge rush to get to it because I physically can't get to it. So there you go. Then in at number 7, I actually put in Ascension, which is ironic because now it's like one of the first books I actually decided to pick up, mainly because, having heard some of my favourite booktubers love it. So, and do you know what? Yes, it's a book outside my comfort zone, reading comfort zone, but yeah, I'm pleased I'm reading it. So yeah, even though it's number 7 currently, it still could move its way up into my shortlist eventually. I don't know, we'll see. So the next 6 would be potentially, before I've even read the list, this is like my shortlist before I've even read any of them, based upon first impressions. So the ones I'm most excited for, even though I'm excited for a lot of this list, is Western Lane by Tetna Maru. And this is a book about families, and also it has like an element of sport to it. Sport isn't normally something I like reading about, but I feel like this could maybe teach me some things. And yeah, I don't know, if it's done well, I feel like it could be a book that is a favourite. It's very, very short. I think it's one of the shorter ones on the list. I believe it is. But yeah. Yes, it's the shortest one on the list, at 176 pages. Yeah. So yeah, it'll be a quick read. The next one, in at number 5, I've put How to Build a Boat by Elaine Feeney. This is another Irish author, and this cover of this book is just so gorgeous. And yeah, I really like a print of this book. It's just beautiful, and yeah, something about it it's sort of drawing me in. Yeah, I'm excited to discover this book. In at number 4 is one I'd already heard of, which is If I Survive You by Jonathan Escoffery, I think that's right. And this is one I think this is by a Caribbean author, and I had already taken, this was already on my script. I had this saved on my script, so obviously I've put this in at number 4 for that reason. I'm hoping I love it. We'll see. The next book in at number 3 on the list is Pearl by Hughes, and this is a very I would say this is probably one of the most unknown books on the list, and it's by the publishers that released Reamble. So yeah, I'm pleased for the publishers for this, that it's been listed, and obviously I'm pleased for the author. I think the author is a poet as well, so this is, I think this could be her debut novel. I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. I love the cover of this. This is, like, in my opinion, like probably the most beautiful cover on the long list. Yeah, I just think this green is so beautiful and bright, and there's just something, yeah, so beautiful. I don't know. So, in at number 2 is the only one from this list I've actually read, and I feel like this is the one that is the one to beat in terms of, I feel like this could be the winner. Like, if I, knowing nothing about the rest, really very, very little about the rest of these books, I feel like The House of Doors is just, I loved it so much. It's historical fiction. Oh, you guys will obviously know about a lot of this, but yeah, and I just love this book so much. I listened to this on audio, which I recommend, and yeah, Tantuan Eng, I just want to go back and read all his books. So yeah, that's my number 2. In at number 1, based purely on the name, and then also subsequently, since I have learned more about this book, which it was number 1 even before then, is All the Little Bird Hearts. Oh my days, I love the title of this book. All the Little Bird Hearts is probably the most childish name for a book ever. And then when I discovered that the author is neurodivergent, and it's obviously talking about an autistic mother, like as the main character, I just think this is just going to be, I really feel like this is just going to could be like a favourite book of the year for me. I'm calling it, even before I've even touched it. And yeah, I'm really hopeful, because yeah, it's just so wonderful to have, like, I've been talking for the last few weeks anyway, because obviously you guys know I was reading Melanie Sykes' memoir, and I just think female representation, good autistic female representation is just so important, and as is all neurodivergent representation, yeah. And it's something that normally in fiction, I feel like I just end up feeling often when I read fiction with autistic main characters, they make me frustrated, because obviously a lot of the books I've read haven't been own voices, and they're just using the autistic character as a plot device, and they normally do it really, really poorly, and it just makes me so mad. But to have this book written by a neurodivergent author, and I just feel like, yeah, it's just really, really promising. So yeah, this makes me very excited. So yeah, those are all my rankings thus far. We'll see by the end of, but as I read them, how that all changes. Which books have you guys read from the list? Let me know in the comments below. Which books are you excited for? Are there any books that you're like, no, I'm not going to touch? Yeah, I'm going to be really gentle with myself with reading this long list, being honest. I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to hopefully just try and listen to most of them on audio, so it's not taking up all my reading, and I can just read physically, as I said, my actual books. So yeah, we'll see how we get on, and but every single week I'll update you with what I've been reading and ranking them as I read them, like I did with the Women's Prize books. Yeah, so yeah, I'm excited by it. I always love the Booker. Every single year I try and read books from the Booker. The last few years I've been reading, I've tried / read all of the books. Some of them I've DNF'd, but I still think that counts. Not that it matters. Yeah, no one gets any prizes for reading these books. So if you don't want to read the book art, don't. If you want to read a couple of them, do. Yeah, it's just, yeah, you do you. That's all right. So yeah, and also I love the fact that there's so many Irish authors. It just makes me so excited. Yeah, that's a really good thing about the list. Yeah, I'm excited. So that's my thoughts on that. In terms of like chatty stuff, I'll just talk briefly. This week, in terms of what I've watched on the telly, Good Omens came out last Friday, and we watched that on Amazon Prime. This is the second series of it, and I've been anticipating it for such a long time, and as a whole, for the most part, the majority of it I just loved. I've loved watching David Tennant and Michael Sheen play Aziraphale and Crowley. They're like some of my favourite characters. I just adore them. But when you're so invested in a story, the ending matters. And for me, the ending of Good Omens 2, I'm not going to give you any spoilers, but the ending of this series, I was just so mad at. And I still feel like I'm not quite recovered from that feeling of anger, because I just don't feel like it's true to the characters. I'm not spoiling it, like I said, but yeah, it's made me cross. And I've heard that the reason it ended like it did is because they've already got season 3 planned and they needed to use season 2 as a bridge to season 3. But I just wish they wouldn't have done it like they did it. But yeah, I just love those characters. And then also in terms of other telly, exciting, Netflix, obviously the second series of Heartstopper comes out. It comes out actually out today, so me and my daughter are going to plan on watching that today, which will be really lovely. Yeah, we're very excited to watch that. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all I want to talk to you about these weeks today. But yeah, take care. I hope you guys are well. I hope you had a good week. Yeah, make sure that you just let me know what you're reading. Let me know what you're up to. I love talking to you guys. Thank you so much for all your kindness as always. And yeah, take care and send you guys lots of love. Goodbye.